Hello everyone, I am Priyanka Gore. Welcome back to my channel Learning with Pace. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about an essay which is of myself, and this essay was written by Abraham Cowley, and this essay was published in 1668. In this particular essay, Cowley has included an ode which he wrote while he was very young, and he has talked about his childhood days, childhood memories as well. So the very first line of this essay, it is hard and nice subject for a man to write of himself. So by this line, Cowley meant that for a writer, it's hard as well as it is nice to choose himself as a subject to write about himself. I mean, खुद के बारे में एक राइटर के लिए लिखना जितना मुश्किल होता है उतना ही नाइस भी होता है. It grates means annoy his own heart to say anything of disparagement. Disparagement means contempt या hatred या फिर to degrade someone. So by this line, Abraham Cowley meant that for a writer, when he choose himself as a subject and when he say anything of contempt for himself, then it grates his own heart, the reader's ear, to hear anything of praise for him, and it annoys reader's heart as well whenever a writer says anything praiseworthy about himself. So that's why he says that it's very hard as well as nice subject for a writer to choose himself as the center of the play, as the theme of the play, or whenever a writer writes about himself, it's very hard and nice as well. Why? Because whenever he would say something very contempt about himself, then it would grate his own heart, because nobody likes to criticize himself, right? And on the other hand, if he would say something very praiseworthy, then it will annoy readers' ears as well. Because no reader likes such writer who always writes praiseworthy stuff about himself. There is no danger from me of offending him in this kind. So he says that it's not his intention to offend, I mean to upset his own reader. Neither my mind, nor my body, nor my fortune allow me any materials of that vanity. Vanity means किसी चीज़ पर proud करना. So he says that he had no intention, or whenever Cowley writes about himself, that time he never keep any intention in his mind to offend his readers, because his mind, his body, his fortune, these things never allowed him anything or any material on which he could show vanity, on which he could show any sort of proud. It is sufficient for my own contentment that they have preserved me from being scandalous or remarkable on defective side. Contentment means satisfaction. Preserved means to save something. So he says that neither my body nor my fortune or my mind has ever given me such sort of material on which I can show vanity. But whatever I have, I am whatever I have that is sufficient for me, for my own contentment, for my own satisfaction. So Cowley is claiming that whatever the material he has, whatever the fortune he has, he is satisfied in those materials, because those materials has always preserved him, has always saved him from falling into scandalous or defective side. So all in all, the crux of this line is whatever the material Cowley is having, he is satisfied in that, because all these materials has always saved him from being humiliated. So this scandalous and defective side means disgrace or humiliation. But besides that, I shall here speak of myself only in relation to subject of these precedent discourses. Precedent means anything which is official or official decision. Discourses means long discussion. So he's saying that besides that, whatever he said in the very first line of this essay, that means it's very hard for a writer and nice as well to choose himself as a subject, but besides that, he will talk about himself in this precedent discourse. I mean, in this long essay, he will talk about himself, he will choose himself as a subject. Shall be likelier means most probably. ठीक है, most probably, thereby to fall into contempt, then rise up to the estimation of people. So he's saying that besides that, it's very hard for him, or very nice as well, for him to choose himself as a subject, but still he will going to talk about himself in this particular essay. And most probably when he will talk about himself, most of the people won't like that. Okay, so he's saying that people might not like whenever he would talk about himself. So might be people will show what? Contempt, will show hatred than the praise. Estimation of the most of the people, that means कि शायद ऐसा हो सकता है कि बहुत सारे लोग उनको पसंद ना करें, बल्कि उनकी तरफ hatred show करें. As far as my memory can return back into my past life, here Abraham Cowley is sharing his childhood days. Before I knew or was capable of guessing what the world or glories or businesses of it were, the natural affection of my soul gave me a secret bent of aversion from them. Aversion means antipathy or hatred. Natural affections means natural inclination. So in this line, Abraham Cowley is sharing his childhood days. As far as my memory can return back into past life. That means as far as he could remember his childhood days, by the time he was, or by the time he could become capable of guessing that what the world, what the glories, or what this business is. So by the time he understood the worldly things, he became disgusted with those things. He was, naturally got aviated from all the worldly materials. The natural affection of my soul, that means the natural inclination of his soul. So his soul naturally deviated, naturally deviated from all the worldly things. And why it happened? Because of aversion from them. Them means worldly things. Them means world glories or businesses. Okay. So he's saying that it was a natural inclination towards other things, like he wanted to be alone always. He always wanted to be with his books, but he never wanted to indulge into worldly stuff. So he some sort of developed hatred towards this worldly stuff, and it was the natural deviation of his soul. As some plants are said to turn away from others. So in plant life, you will find that it's so natural for plants to separate from each other by an antipathy imperceptible to themselves. Antipathy means hatred, imperceptible means unnoticeable. So he's saying that plants turn away from each other, plant separates from each other due to antipathy, and which is imperceptible to themselves. I mean, plants can never understand that why they got why it got separated from other plants, and it is inscrutable for man's understanding as well. That means it is mystery for man's understanding also. I mean, man can never understand that why it happened. Inscrutable means mystery. So the crux of this line is that, as far as he can recall his childhood days, or by the time he could understand that what the worldly things are, he became disgusted with those things, and his soul naturally turned away, or his soul naturally deviated from all the worldly things, and it was the secret bent of aversion. I mean, ये जो hatred थी ना worldly things की तरफ, वो बिल्कुल secretly थी. वो अब्राहम कावले को खुद नहीं पता चला. इट वॉज इम्परसेप्टेबल, अननोटिसेबल टू हिम एज वेल. जैसे कि अगर प्लांट्स की बात करें, सम प्लांट्स टर्न अवे from each other due to antipathy, and it is imperceptible, it is unnoticeable for the plants to understand it, and it is mysterious for the man's understanding as well. Even when I was very young boy at school, instead of running about on holidays and playing with my fellows, I was wont to steal from them and walk into fields. So again, he is giving an example of his childhood days, that when he was in school, he was very young, of course. So when he was very young boy at school, that time, instead of running about on holidays, that means in holidays he never used to play along with his fellows. I mean, he never played with his friends or other companions. He used to stay away from other companions, and instead of playing, what he used to do? He used to steal. This WONT won't matlab hai used to. Okay, so rather than playing with his companions or his fellows, he used to steal from them. He used to steal books from them and used to had a walk in the fields. So either he would be walking alone or with such company with whom he can share same temperament, with whom he can share same nature. So Cowley is saying when he was young boy at school, he never played with his fellows in holidays. Instead of playing with them, he used to steal books from them, and he used to had a walk in the fields, either alone so that he can read books peacefully, or either with one companion with whom he can share the same or the similar nature. I was then too so much enemy to all constraint. Constraint means some sort of restriction. So Abraham Cowley is saying that he never liked rules, he never liked restrictions on him, that my masters could never prevail on me, that my masters could never force constraint on me, could never force or exercise any sort of rules and regulations on me by any persuasions or encouragements to learn without books the common rules of grammar in which they dispensed. Dispensed means complete. They dispensed with me alone because they found I made a shift to do the usual exercise out of my own reading and observation. Abraham Cowley is saying, I was then too much enemy to all constraint. That means I was enemy to some sort of rules or regulation. In fact, my school masters could never prevail on me. मतलब मेरे भी school masters जो है वो मेरे ऊपर हावी नहीं हो सके and ना ही मुझे किसी constraint में रख सके. So my masters could never confine me within the four walls by any persuasion. I mean by any sort of belief or conviction, or by encouragement, or by cheering me up. That means he's saying that I never liked rules, and he never, Abraham Cowley never liked restrictions on him as well, and his masters could not put restriction on him either by any sort of belief, conviction, or any sort of cheering. To learn without books the common rules of grammar in which they dispensed with me alone. He's saying that his masters or his school fellows, they used to complete the grammar. They used to follow rules in grammar, and they used to complete the grammar without me alone. That means he's saying that when I wasn't in the class, that time masters used to complete the grammar by following the common rules. And I mean यहाँ पर Abraham Cowley हैं, that he never liked any sort of rules, not in fact the rules of grammar. In fact, he used to complete grammar by his own reading and by his own observation. So the crux of this line is that Abraham Cowley never liked rules and regulations on him. His masters could never put restriction on him by either persuasion or encouragement, matlab by either conviction or sort of cheering. And his school masters and his fellows used to do the grammar exercise without him, without Cowley, because Cowley liked to do grammar out of his own observation and out of his own reading. Subsequently, he has added an ode here so that you can come to know the nature of Abraham Cowley when he was young. So he wrote this ode when he was 13 years old, but we will discuss about this ode in part 2 of this essay, and you will come to know that how his nature was when he was young. Okay, and इस ओड के बारे में हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में बात करेंगे, और यहाँ से हम शुरू करेंगे बिकॉज वी हैव टू कंप्लीट द ओड ऑल टुगेदर, एंड यहीं से ओड के बारे में शुरुआत हुई है. ऑल इन ऑल, हाउ डिड यू लाइक माई lecture? You can tell me in the comment section. You can follow me on Instagram, and you can join my Telegram channel as well. Please do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much.